This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Ben Settle, compulsively punchable.
He's the kind of guy who you'd probably just punch on the arm really hard if you ever met him.
Worshipped by feminists.
He pokes fun at feminism and women, just joking around, his whole sandwich making thing.
Mildly inspiring.
Yes, I recommend the Ben Settle Show, and anybody who isn't on it, that's their own loss.
Somewhat authentic.
Ben is a very distinct personality. There's no fluff. I can't stand fluff.
Syrupy sweet.
Tells it like it is, and sometimes may not be the most polite manner, shall we say.
Kind of useful.
So I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on coaching and masterminds, and I've learned more from Ben Settle's podcast than from any of that.
Semi-intelligent.
Ben sounds like a crazy guy at times, but he's one of the smartest individuals in marketing I've ever met.
Mostly forgettable.
He's always in the forefront of my mind.
The BenSettle.com podcast begins now.
This is Ben Settle, the BenSettle.com podcast. And Jonathan, I'm going to talk about something that it's something I probably should have talked about before. And maybe I have. I don't know. I mean, what did we do? 137 episodes of the old podcast.
Yeah.
It was a lot. It's possible I've touched on this before. I don't remember doing it. In fact, there's probably a lot of repetition by now, I'm guessing, but that's all right. That's all right. Repetition's good. I'm going to talk about debt because I just read some story about how everybody in America, at least, is in debt, or most people are in debt, and even more people than that don't even have a month's worth of money put away.
Yikes.
And that is pretty scary. And that, Jonathan, is, I will take it upon myself to lower myself to the little people and help lift them out of their debt, because I've been there. And I was in a lot of debt at one time, and I'm going to talk about how I got out of it. And specifically, I'm going to talk about, and not just got out of it, but got out of it very quickly. And if you have a business, it's actually much easier because you at least have the ability, especially if you have a list you can sell to, you have the ability to at least start making high ticket offers and that sort of thing to get the ball rolling much faster than someone who is just, doesn't have a business. So what I'm going to do is recently, this is a few months ago, I helped a friend of mine with this. This friend who shall go unnamed because, you gotta, Jonathan, just because I don't have any dignity doesn't mean that I should take away the dignity of others, and so be it. I helped him out with this, and he's in the process of putting this into play, and it's all going very nicely and very smoothly. And so I'm going to tell the audience what I told him. And so, Jonathan, if you have any friends, family members, enemies, anybody who is stuck in debt that you'd like to help out, handing them this podcast might help. Might not. I don't know. People have to be willing to do a little bit of the H word, right? Like the word that we all make fun of, which is hustle. You got to have to do a little bit of that. I mean, that's whatever it takes to get out of there. Because debt is just basically, if you have any debt, you are enslaved to the people and the institutions that have that debt on you. I mean, that's just the way it goes. It's not your money. It's whoever your debtors are. It's their money. If you don't believe me, go get a loan on a house and then don't make the payments and see what happens. See who really owns that house or who really owns a car that you have a loan on and you stop making payments. When the repo man comes, it becomes very, very clear who's what's and who belongs to what. So anyway, all that said, before I give the little checklist here, because this is really simple stuff. None of this is complicated. It's just a 9-step checklist, which actually is pretty complicated for a guy like me. But so a little bit of context about this friend of mine, who I will not name, Jonathan Rivera.
Kind of you.
I'm just, I shouldn't say it because people probably would believe it was you, because being the lowly producer of my show, like I just step on you and I just throw you crumbs. the side chick. So a little bit of context before I get into the meat of it. First of all, this friend of mine, who I will not name, has approximately 12 to 15, I think it was 12, but let's say 15K, because I can't remember the exact amount, but let's say 15K in credit card debt. And this is put on over a dozen different credit cards. So It's not like all on one or two cards. Yes, this person got very creative about getting themselves into debt. Let's put it that way. And he owes about $500 per month in minimum payments on these various cards. that all he does is pay the minimum on every month. He doesn't pay anything off. Like he's just basically, the banks love this guy. Like the banks absolutely love people like this, right? He also owes approximately $120,000 in other loans.
Wow.
Now, when you combine college, yeah, I know, right? Like I said, this person it was very creative about getting in debt because they did not have anyone to tell them not to do this. And so these loans are the kind that you can't just get out of, like a car loan, college, and mostly college student loans. And he's paying about $700 per month on just the minimum on those combined. So right now you have $500 plus, that's $1,200 in minimum payments, not paying anything down at the time that I gave this advice, at least.
Wow, that's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a good situation to be in. That's way worse than the situation I was in, right? Tell you right now. I mean, I just wasn't that creative, Jonathan. I don't know. when I was trying to get myself in debt. But now those are the bad news. No, those are the negatives. Those are the drawbacks. The good news is he's a copywriter and he works from home. Okay, so he's not like bound to a 40-hour-a-week job and all that where he doesn't have to, he's got time and he has the ability to get clients. Now, this person is not making, 10-figure assignments and all that. I mean, this person, it gets by enough to live on his business, but he's not, at the time when I gave this advice, was not like bringing in $15,000 plus royalties and all this other stuff. Or, there's some crazy numbers out there where people claim they make like there's one guy that claims to make $110,000 per assignment. Okay. Fine. Okay. I'm not going to say this person's a liar, but I would say it sounds like horseshit. So, here's another good. Now, here's another asset this person has, other than just being a copywriter working from home, so they have time. Another asset is he has about $15,000 worth of stuff he doesn't need. Now, I bet you most people have about 10 to 15K worth of crap they don't need. Anyone who's been living like the standard American lifestyle, at least, not people who like really have been broke their whole life. But I'm talking about middle-class people probably do have this. So this would be a combination of like clothes they never wear. Maybe they bought a jacket once that they only wore once and never wore it again. Various electronics that they never use. Extra Kindles sitting around. Their last 4 cell phones that they just, get a new cell phone. They do nothing with the last 4 of them. Useless furniture. In this case, a dresser, like a nice dresser that they don't actually use. It's just there. Luxury items, basically status items that people waste money on in the good old U.S. of what I say U.S. of debt. Okay, it's like status stuff. And this person also, I believe, has like a bicycle they never ride. I mean, there's all this stuff and this is his estimate, is like $15K worth. Because another asset this person has, before I go on to the plan, is this person has no problem selling stuff on eBay, is very comfortable with it, is actually pretty good when he puts his mind to it, can go out and find stuff to buy and resell. Now, that's a part of my advice to him. So, but even if you're listening to this and you don't do that, well, you might want to learn to do it, but you don't have to learn to do it. I'm just saying, at least sell your own stuff, if nothing else. So, Jonathan, that's the basically what they're going through. That's the snapshot of the problem and the situation at hand. So, what did I tell him to do is the question, to get out of this debt. And again, I'm not going to say all this is going to apply to everybody. Like if you don't have a service business, or you couldn't start a service business of some kind, it'll take you longer than it will take this person to do what I'm saying. But all this can basically be applied. For the most part, most people can apply this stuff. So the first step is to obviously sell the $15,000 worth of crap that they have ASAP, like right away. Don't wait to collect your $200 or whatever the monopoly term is. You don't pass go. Everything goes on the side burner and this is the first thing that must be done. $15,000 worth of crap. So you can take that stuff to eBay, Craigslist, there's other sites out there depending on what you have. I'm not up on all these, Jonathan. I don't pretend to be, because I've never actually had to do much of this. In fact, what I do is I have various friends do this stuff for me, and I just give them 50% and I keep 50%. And so it is. Like, for example, I used to do all this copywriting work for all these clients, and I had all these information, this is like 5 years ago, I had all these information products laying around. And my friend Greg Perry, who is an eBay power seller, and he doesn't do this I don't think he does this anymore, but at the time he would sell things on consignment basically for people. And he did that for me. And it's like, I think I pulled in like a cool $1,200 just for mailing stuff to him that was just sitting in my office anyway. Now,
nice.
Somebody will say, well, Ben, why didn't you just sell that yourself, right? Because I'm not greedy, bastards. That's why. Because I value my time over that. Like $600 or whatever that I paid him was money well spent. Because my time was worth more than that. Now, in this case, if you're in a lot of debt, you might want to just do it yourself. So you can, because you're trying to pay stuff off. So the first thing is to sell that crap. And I asked this person, I said, could you do that? And they said, yeah, I could easily do this. And I'm like, well, why didn't you do it? Well, they didn't really think about it until someone actually showed them the problem they were in. Because some people don't even realize the problem they're in. They don't realize the mess they've gotten themselves into. They sit there and just pay minimum payments for the next 50 years of their lives, and they don't realize that they don't have to be a slave like this. It's not hard to get away with it. So my next step was, after they sell the $15K worth of crap, put the first $3,000 of it, because I asked this person how much they could live on in a month, comfortably. And I think it was probably like around $2,500 or something. I said, well, jack it up to $3,000. Take the first $3,000 of that and put it in the bank as peace of mind money right away before you pay anything down. This is not the same as screw you money like I talk about in the Villains book. And, I didn't make up the concept screw you money, by the way, but I did write about it in the Villains book. You don't spend this. You don't use it for anything. It's not screw you so you can go around telling clients to go kiss your ass. No, that's not what this is. It's not a year's worth. It's 1 month's worth. For you, if you never touch it, it's done its job. And it's just there just in case something happens so you don't fall backwards again. Something comes up that, you have to pay for or whatever, it's there. Hopefully you never have to use it, but it's good. Just having that in the bank, I guarantee people will, first of all, put you like in the 1% actually of people who, like, most people don't have any money put away. Well, at least you'll have that a month. Now, if you're listening to this, I'm not saying you have to do $3K. It's whatever a month's expenses is for you that you could get down if you had to bare bones it. Put that first and wait. That's the first thing you do. Then I said, take what's left over, which I guess would be $12K, and pay off all the credit cards in one shot. Now, I think he was in like $15K worth of debt at the same time, but basically, let's just assume he only had 12 to 15. Let's say it's $12K, just to make this simple, Jonathan. Okay, I don't want to complicate anything.
Thank you.
Take the rest of it and pay off all the credit cards in one shot. What that does is now frees up $500 per month he pays in minimum payments now, right off the bat. So, and all that stupid credit card debt is gone. I also told this person, because this person pays like, I don't know, $1,700 or $1,800 a month in rent, okay, by themselves. I said, it's time to take on a roommate. Okay. It's like, actually, I think it was $1,600 a month they paid. Take on a roommate, and now you've just freed up, split the rent 50-50. Now, my friend, and he did this. This is not like, some people, Jonathan, believe it or not, some people do listen to me. And this person actually is listening to me. It's very shocking, because usually when I give people free advice, they don't listen. They go off onto Flakebook and find someone else to follow. I'm telling you, this is very simple and it works. So now they've freed up $500 in minimum payments, which has been done, and then $800 per month in rent. That was at $1,300 right there. Okay, that's $1,300 of extra money per month they can now put toward the balance of the student loans and the other stuff. Take the $700 a month that's being paid on the big loan, the student loan and the cars currently, and combine that with the $500 per month he was paying towards the credit cards and the $800 a month he's now saving for not paying rent, which is I believe is a combined $2,000 a month, and start putting that down on the other loans and combine those other two loans if possible. But now it's like streamlining this stuff. This person, by following this, by the way, Jonathan, by following this advice, this person, who shall go unnamed, went from just paying minimum payments and being saddled with interest payments, getting deeper and deeper in the hole every month, to now banging out $2,000 toward the principal every month.
Wow.
And that's a big change. And notice that they didn't really do much here, right? I mean, at this point, they just sold a bunch of crap they didn't need. And it's not hard to do, by the way. There's always people who need what you have, all the stuff you have laying around. Put a few $1,000s at piece of my money away, and then paid off the credit cards in one shot, took a roommate on. None of this is like, now you tell me, Jonathan, am I being unfair here? Am I being unreasonable? This sounds pretty simple right now to free up $2,000 per month.
Yeah, I think it's too simple. I don't believe you.
Exactly. And nobody else is going to believe me either. And that's fine, because I'm just trying to fill up space on the bensettle.com podcast. This is just filler content. So what's the next step? So they're putting $2,000 a month now toward approximately $120,000 worth of debt, which is a huge step compared to putting nothing toward it every month. So now I said, since this person is capable of doing this, and this person lives in a bigger city, I'm not saying this wouldn't work in a smaller town, but this next part, I'm guessing a lot of people won't want to do, and that's fine. It's good, better, best. Even if you did nothing but the stuff I just said before, chances are everyone listening to this is not this creatively in debt as my friend. So even if you just did what I said before, or could do something like that, and I know there's people listening to this who, for example, have families and all that, they can't just take a roommate on. I get that. I'm just saying this is the advice I gave them. I want people to start thinking in these terms of big chunks of money that you're already spending on something that you can save every month to put toward the loan. So I said, the next thing this person do should spend one day per week, maybe Sundays, looking for things to buy and resell like they did with the other stuff they had. Like, in other words, go to like thrift stores and things where things are really cheap. Where I know one girl told me that she goes to this thrift store where sometimes she'll find like $800 bags, like Coach bags or whatever, that they're selling for like $20. If you have an eye for that kind of stuff, you can make out like a bandit doing this. This could be like a whole other business for some people. Jim Straw, the late Jim Straw, used to kind of do stuff like this. He was big on like buying things at wholesale and then selling it at retail, like buying things in bulk at wholesale, but then selling it to another company, right? Like flipping it to another company for more or something like that. But he had an ebook that he charged $997 for an ebook, Jonathan, for a 160-page ebook that he spent $1,000 he sold it for. And from my understanding, he sold like 12 of those a month.
Wow.
And I don't know what his refunds were like, but I'm just saying that's a hell of a business model right there. So do that. The next thing I said to do is try to, do whatever they have to do to take on at least one extra copywriting client per month and put the entire fee towards the debt. So now this person is not making, again, $15,000 per assignment, but let's say they make a couple thousand per assignment. If they do an extra one a month, now you're up to $4,000 on average of putting it toward that principal. Plus, if they're buying and reselling stuff and all that, but even if they're not, imagine having $4,000 or $5,000 a month to put toward your giant, loans that you can't just like get out of by declaring bankruptcy, like student loans and all that. And then finally, Jonathan, this is the 9th part, and then we'll wrap this up, is to build a list and email it offers every day, which I know is going to surprise everybody listening to this, but so it is. I mean, again, none of this stuff is complicated. And I'm going to be honest with you. It's not like I invented any of this. This is a variation of what's called the debt snowball, which, who's that one author? Dave Ramsey talks about. I don't really study Dave Ramsey or anything, but when I used to work a job, I used to duplicate videos for a living, and we duplicated a lot of Nightingale Conant tapes. And one of the most popular ones they had, this is back in 2002. This was actually the thing that made me realize how much trouble I was in. I didn't even realize it at the time. It was 2001 or 2002. It was this program called, this guy from John Kamada called Debt to Wealth, where he showed you how to get out of debt, very similar to what I just did, and then actually take the money that you now are not paying on loans to invest it and actually become wealthy with it. I don't know if it's still out there. I don't know if it's still for sale, but what I just talked about is a variation, a very slight, like a very minimal version of that. But that's that. So Jonathan, I don't know, man. I like to do a good deed every now and then. I hope this helps somebody. And I know most people are just going to like slough it off. Yeah, whatever. I'm not going to do all that. Fine. You don't have to do any of this stuff. I'm just saying this was the advice I gave to a friend. The friend is implementing this rapidly and paying all kinds of stuff off and will soon be out of debt. And I guess within the next 1 to 2 years or earlier, if they start making bigger fees on their copyright and all that, which should happen to anybody who's in this game for very long. You should be able to raise your fees over time. And of course, as they mail offers to their list, this person's trying to build a continuity program too. Again, this takes work. It's not like something you just do, but some of this is actually very easy. And taking a roommate on, for example, if you can do that, is an easy thing. So that's that, Jonathan. That's it for this time. Next time, I'm not going to talk about debt. I'm going to talk about selling versus pitching, because a lot of people don't know the difference, and a lot of people do the one when they should be doing the other. And it'll show you how to make more sales if you want to pay off debt or whatever. So that's it.
Nice. Tied it right back in. All right, that's a wrap for another bensettle.com podcast. We'll be back in your earbuds next time. Thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to the bensettle.com podcast. To get your hands on a free issue of Ben Settle's prestigious $97 per month email player's newsletter, simply go to www.bensettle.com.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.